Okay, so when I first started auditioning, I never watched Outer Banks before. But once I did actually start doing the audition, I started watching the show, and then I became a huge fan. Honestly, working on the show is like hitting lotto twice, because truthfully, it's a great show, it's a fun show, but it really is just hanging out with your friends, having a great time. We're all so close that we really are like a family. My favorite thing about Cleo is how powerful she was. The thing that I most loved about her was like in my first audition, it was the scene where she first kidnapped Shanvi, and I love that she was like spinning a knife, and I was like, that is so cool. She just was like a badass. Like she just was like, what are you gonna do? Like you can't do nothing about it. So I saw that on the page and I was like, oh, she's gonna be so much fun to play. I think the people love the Pogues because between the 6 of us, there is at least one character that everyone can relate to. Either they know a friend, or they are that friend, or wishes they were that friend. Even watching it like from a fan point of view, it's like, I wish I was them, like running around chasing $400 million worth of gold. When we were filming, I did expect Cleo to join the Pogues, only because we filmed episode 10 in South Carolina first, so I already knew that. However, I will say when I was auditioning, there was no talks of that. I didn't find out till I already got the part that she was a Pogue. I was just kind of like, I just kept reading it. Like I saw it and I was like, no, there's no way. Like, but then it was like, I think what it said was, reunites with the Pogues, one of them now. I just kept reading it. I'm like, she's a Pogue, she's a Pogue, she's a Pogue! Like, I never would have thought in a million years, truthfully, I never thought that she's gonna be a Pogue. Never once crossed my mind. I thought she was gonna be the villain of the season, like a new villain that they ran into, and maybe she'll come back, but I never did I think that. Hi, my name is Carlacia Grant, and these are the top 5 qualities to be a Pogue. The first thing you need to be a Pogue is loyalty. Who are we if we're not sticking together? All of us stick up for each other and have fought for each other, and I think that's what everyone loves about the Pogues, that we stick together. Loyalty, I think for Cleo's first moment where she realized that the crew is all loyalty is episode 10, the container ship, where she first jumped in that container ship and she was going off. Like, this is the dumbest thing that I have ever seen. Like, you guys are never gonna take over that ship. And they didn't care. Like, they were willing to die to save their friend. So that's important. The second quality you need to be a Pogue is you gotta have some fight in you. There's no running away from a battle. Like, even if you call for help, you know, you get that help, but you gotta keep going for it. The fight scenes were great. We did a lot of rehearsals. We really shot those scenes in a real engine room. So we did a lot of rehearsals just for safety. This was a great role where I had to definitely worked out 6 days a week. I added muscle. Like, I wanted her, when you see her, like, I wanted her arm to just be like, you know what, like, what you gonna do? And she, you know, she's willing to take over anybody. She's willing to take on the boys, and you know, I love her fight scene with Pope because it has like moments of like, is there something between us? Is she gonna kill him? Is she gonna trust him? It's like, you know, we really toyed with the cat and mouse kind of thing. Pope would disagree, but she definitely won that fight. So the third quality to be a Pogue is you gotta be willing to die for your friends. You know, you see us in Outer Banks, we're always willing to die for something. We're always in life or death circumstances in which we could die trying to save a friend. You see it with Kiara and JJ. You see it with Pope and Cleo jumping off a ship. You see it with Sarah and John B. We are all willing to die for our friends, and it's all of us together or none of us. We don't betray each other. The next quality you need to be a Pogue is love. And the bottom of all of this is love. Like, we really do love each other. We love hanging around each other. We will do anything for each other. You know, we really understand where, you know, each person is coming from. I mean, for Sarah, she understood that Cleo had a very tumultuous childhood in which she had to do certain things in order to survive. I do hope Cleo finds love, and I think I mean, if the fans are paying attention, there's a lot of hints as to who Cleo might possibly be getting with. And I think that will be a great dynamic because, well, when we talked about it with the creators, it's like, it's cat and mouse. You know, our personalities, me and Pope's personality, if that's who Cleo ends up with, is very like, you know, I'm very headstrong, I do what I want, but he's very like by the book. And Cleo's like, let's just run and do it and just sees what happens, like in the end. Cleo gotta get some love too. It'll be cool. It'll definitely be cool to see like more of a vulnerable side from Cleo. You know, what would Cleo be like in a relationship? Fifth quality to be a Pogue is good vibes, man. We're together, we're having a good time. We're laughing, we're joking on each other. Nothing is that serious. Like when you see us together, we're having a good time, we're cracking jokes, we're playing with each other, we're laughing, we're having a good time. At the core, you gotta be able to have a good time. No one can be too big of a stickler around us. You know, you can't take us too serious. You definitely have to have a sense of humor to be a Pogue. The vibes on set are great. Like everything that you see on screen is really how we are like behind the scenes. Truthfully, when we're filming, the hardest thing to do is not bust out laughing. Like especially me playing Cleo, and Cleo is very just not trusting, you know, she's very like, argh. And like my personality, I'm always joking and laughing. Like sometimes, you know, there were a few takes where it was like, Cleo, you're smiling. Because we would just come up with like an improv, like in the middle of a scene, and then it'd be funny, like it'd be funny. So that was kind of like the hardest thing, but we're all like having fun doing this. Like sometimes it's like, wow, this is really a job to just go and like hang with your friends on a beach in Barbados or in South Carolina. What everyone sees on screen is really just us, just hanging out together. And I think that's what makes the show like so great, is that really behind the scenes, we're as good as friends as you see our characters. What can I say about the future of Cleo is, I don't know anything. I don't know. Cleo hasn't really had enough time to like, I think really bond with like Kiara and JJ. There's definitely like something going on with Pope. So those are some things that I would like to see, but as far as what's gonna happen,